Guys, this book is crazy. It's amazing. So Devin had a strict rule. He was not going to woo any woman. He was going to tell her, you're going to become a duchess. These are the rules. Play by the rules. You live large and I live my life. I don't have to love you. I don't have to be in love with you. I just marry you and it's an arrangement. Okay, that's it. So as she's going to find somewhere, she hears noises and she hears this man like shouting at his mistress. This lady was trying to get in good. She was trying to make a better life for herself. So she was trying to trap this man. And this man was a duke. Have you ever been in a situation where you feel like you don't fit in? Well, this story is for you. And if you're interested in stories like this, stick around. Welcome aboard, ladies and gentlemen. Today we are going to be discussing a book from Eloisa Jones called Say Yes to the Duke. Oh my goodness, am I going to talk like this for the entirety of this video? Hell no. Let's get into the video, guys. My name is Rhonda. I am a flight attendant. I'm currently at work. I know it don't seem that way, but I was working this morning while you were sleeping. All right, so don't judge me. Let's get into the video. I want to be able to ship the book to one of my subscribers because I'm already done reading the book. So at the end of the video, I'm going to have a question. And if you have the best answer to that question, I will mail you the book. How about that? I think that would be really, really great. All right, so let's get into the video. I'm just going to do a quick read. I'm not going to read the entire book. I'm just going to read you a summary. The writer is called Eloisa Jones. It's kind of like Bridgerton, but I'll just tell you about it, okay? But it does have the same theme as Bridgerton. And I watched Bridgerton, guys. I am in love with that book. And if you are gonna love this book. Let's get into the reading. As I do my makeup, I know it looks like it's already done, but it's not. Viola Astley, Duke of Lindau's stepdaughter, had been raised as a wild but never fit in. So the story opens up in Lindau's castle. We are introduced to Viola's character. Viola was introduced to us as a shy girl whose mother married the Duke when Viola was 2 years old. However, Viola did not feel like she fit in with the Duke and his other children. Now, the Duke's children, they had a wild side to them, which is the name of the Duke, Wild. And they all lived up to that standard because they were bold, they were beautiful, they were tall, and Viola was timid and she was a little short. This is not me saying that tall people are beautiful because I'm certainly not tall, but that's what the book says. So she never felt like she fit in with the family. And this had nothing to do with the way she was treated because she was very much loved and the Duke loved all of his children. So the story takes place in the year 1781. So this is an old story. Now, this Duke had been married a couple of times, but we're not going to get into the Duke's story. We're just going to focus on Viola's story because the book, like I said, is like Bridgerton. So you've had storylines of other siblings that we haven't touched yet. Well, I haven't read yet. The book was mainly focused on Viola and one of her other siblings named June. So June and Viola were really close and they were the last few ones to get married. Now, Viola did have an issue. She had a self-esteem issue. She did not like to go in public. She always liked to be by herself. She had this shyness about herself to the point where she would make herself sick and throw up around people because she was so uncomfortable and one of the accounts that she did this on was when she was 15 and she interrupted a couple in the servants' hall and caused the men to fly into a rage. So after that incident, Viola realized that if this is what men were like, very arrogant and rude, and she didn't even have the stomach for it, she would never ever get married. Before Viola's mother married the Duke was married to his previous duchess who cheated on him and had a child named June. This duchess ran away and left her child with the Duke. The Duke was a somewhat generous Duke because he took the Duchess's child in and he raised her as his own as he did all of his other children. Now, Viola's mother was his beloved now and she was the new Duchess in town and Viola was the newest kid in town. As time goes on, we learn from the book that Viola became increasingly shy and uncomfortable around people, and the situation was not getting better. However, it was becoming time for Viola to be put out onto the dating scene to get married. So it was time for her debut at the ball. And for all of my new subscribers, guys, I love you all so much. You made it possible. We are on our way to 1 million subscribers. I know, don't look at the count. We'll get there. I know it does seem like a dream right now, but we can do it. We do it one subscriber at the time, all right? Go ahead, subscribe right now, like the video so YouTube pushes the video out to more people. That way we grow faster, all right? And share the video with your friends if you like this book. So when we learned about Viola's debuting at the ball, we also learned that Viola wasn't going to be doing it alone. She was going to be doing so with her sister, June. So June was the sister whose mother left. I'm not going to be mentioning the other siblings so much in this summary because their story was already told in a previous series, and we're going to be focusing on Viola. So I'm just going to be mentioning key players in Viola's story, which is June. June was Viola's favorite sibling of all of her siblings. So June was going to debut with Viola because Viola was super shy and Viola couldn't do it by herself. So June and Viola were debuting together. June was going to be used as a confidence boost for Viola. Viola did tell June that she was shy and they had to go to this ball, and she thought about a time where when she went to her first ball, she was 15 and she threw up on her date's shoes. June had encouraged her that this time would be different and that she would be by her side and they can do it together. But Viola will always say that she did not feel like she was a part of the family because she wasn't a duke's daughter. And that's when June tells us in the book that she's not a wild child either because her mother had cheated on the Duke. June, however, June turned out just fine. She was confident, she was happy, and she behaved like a Duke's daughter, unlike Viola. So when they went to the ball, they met the young men, the potential suitors, and June introduced Viola to one of the suitors. And as he was greeting Viola, Viola would not take her eyes off his shoes. She would not lift her face, and she just bent her head the entire time. And he proceeded to dance with Viola. As she danced with him, she just laser focused on getting all of her steps right so that she would improve. She didn't even bother to like try to connect with the guy or whatever. She just paid attention to her dance moves. Now after that, she was nervous and she went to dance with a much older man in the community, which she knew that he wasn't trying to date her and she could be way more comfortable with the older man. And that's when her aunt showed up. Duke's sister name was Andalou. So Andalou showed up and told Viola, hey, you should be dancing with your potential suitors. Why are you over here dancing with this old man? So Andalou told her that, hold on, hang tight. I'm gonna go find you some people to dance with. So Viola was like, her stomach was like aching, just feeling like she wanted to throw up. So when Andalou left, she started to find somewhere that she can like throw up and at least like release her tummy from all the stress and anxiety that she was going through. The ball was taking place at Viola's parents' castle. So as she's going to find somewhere, she hears noises and she hears this man like shouting at his mistress. So as him and his mistress argued, Viola walked in and she's just trying to find somewhere at this point to like ease herself, and she hears this couple arguing. She hears the man talking about, if you want to trap me, you're not gonna trap me, and it's crazy that back then I guess women had no use whatsoever in society. Like they weren't good for anything but making babies according to society at the time. And this lady was trying to get in good. She was trying to make a better life for herself. So she was trying to trap this man, and this man was a duke. So the duke was older than Viola. Now he's old enough to have a mistress, but he wasn't like super old. Kind of like before Prince Harry got older, Prince Harry kind of duke, you know? So he's arguing with his mistress, and they're arguing because she told him that they should go in public and have a little public affection and whatever, something that would be deemed immoral at the time. So she tells him that they should go in like a corner or a bathroom or whatever and do whatever. Now Viola busts in on the conversation and hears the Duke telling her that you're trying to trap me into marrying you because you know that if someone shows up here with me and you being inappropriate, then that gives you grounds to force me into marrying you. But if you do force me into marrying you, I'm telling you, you're gonna have a very shitty time. So they're arguing, they're going back and forth, and Viola busts in the room, and the Duke turns around. He yells at Viola and the lady and said, look, so you brought a witness with you, and you want this witness to go back and tell everyone that you and I are being inappropriate, that I have dishonored you, and blah, 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 so I'm forced to marry you. So he walked away. So when he walks away, Viola's like trying to hold her tummy in and not like throw up everywhere. And here comes the lady's actual witness. So he wasn't just accusing her. She was actually planning to trap him into marrying her. Viola wasn't her witness, but Viola got cut in the crossfire. However, her true witness did show up late, and the man had already left. Look, you came in here very late. You're so stupid. You should have been here earlier. Now the Duke has left. We're not going to be able to trap him, and I'm not going to be able to become a duchess. So Viola hears all of that, and she like runs and just trying to get to like a sink or a bathroom or whatever, and then she throws up on the lady's shoe. Makes the lady even more pissed, and that did not go well. So after that incident, Viola realized that if this is what men were like, very arrogant and rude, she didn't even have the stomach for it, she would never ever get married. So years passed, and Viola only grew worse, and she thought that she would live her life as a spinster. But all of that changed when Viola fell in love. So Viola's stepdad was the Duke. When her vicar passed away, and the vicar is like a church pastor or something like that. So when Viola's family vicar passed away, they needed a new vicar, and the new vicar that they brought was Mr. Malu. And when they brought Mr. Malu, everything changed for Viola, and she decided that she had to work on getting better so that she can show to Mr. Malu that she was ready to indeed be married. And she fell in love with Mr. Malu because he was a pastor, very kind-hearted and very sweet, and he was hot. So when they introduced Mr. Malu, Viola fell in love instantly. Like there was no like knot in her stomach, like she didn't feel like throwing up or anything like that. She fell in love with Mr. Malu until she was told that Mr. Malu was betrothed, meaning Mr. Malu was engaged to be married to Miss Pettigrew, Mrs. Pettigrew's daughter. Miss Pettigrew was a bishop's wife, and she was a stiff-nosed. She would look down upon everyone who wasn't as righteous as her and her family. She would look down on people. So she like looked down on Viola's family, and well, they were wealthy, but in the sense of spirituality, she did not think that they were up to par. But Viola was determined to make him fall in love with her and dump the other girl. So it gets interesting, guys. So Viola was supposed to be preparing to go to London for her big, oh goodness, I broke this. So Viola and June were supposed to be preparing to go to London, where they were supposed to be debuting for their season, which is getting married and going to all the balls and kind of like Bridgerton style. But Viola already fallen in love with Mr. Malu, which was the man of God, or supposed to be, but he was younger, kind of around Viola's age group, but a little older than Viola, and Viola felt like she was in love with Mr. Malu. So she wanted to find a way to get Mr. Malu to go to London with them, and Mr. Malu had been hired to come and take care of the church and renovate it, get it up and running since the previous vicar had passed away. So Viola went ahead and she cooked up a scheme and said that Mr. Malu had been so wonderful to her. Mr. Malu kind of liked her too, that he had been so wonderful to her, and he had helped her self-esteem for the little time he was there, and that she thought that it would be a great idea for Mr. Malu to go with them to London. So her aunt, Undulu, noticed that Viola had a ulterior motive, but she didn't know exactly why or how, but she just knew that there was a shift in Viola. And she reminded Viola that Mr. Malu was betrothed, to be married to another girl. Viola denied it, and she said that she just got along with Mr. Malu, and Mr. Malu helped her boost up her confidence, and they wanted Viola to be married, so they said, okay, great, we will bring Mr. Malu to London with us. So Mr. Malu, June, Viola's parents, they all packed up and they went to London. for Viola and June's debut. So then we turn to Devin Lucas. The story now focuses on Devin. So Devin was the Duke of Winter, and his dad passed away when he was 16, and he had to be trained into dukedom and take over, and he became the Duke of his people. But he had his uncle that was guiding him through the way. So his uncle was Sir Reginald. So we're just gonna call him Devin's uncle, who was from Devin's mother's side. Devin was a very anti-social, strong-headed kind of guy. He wasn't very charming and loving because he grew up with his dad who was abusive and a strong man who wasn't loving to his son and his wife. So Devin just had a lot of anger built inside. Devin had a cousin named Otis, and Otis was a vicar as well. However, Otis did not want to become a vicar anymore. He said that was not his lifestyle. So Otis has told Devin that he has changed his mind and he didn't want to be a vicar anymore, and that he is going to travel abroad and find an heiress to wed. So he was going to travel abroad to find himself a wife to get married to. Devin was trying to convince his cousin to stay and actually take over as a vicar, and he did not want that. He wanted to travel the world and he wanted nothing to do with the church because he said that dad just forced him into becoming a vicar, and that's not what he wanted. At the end of the day, Devin was able to convince his cousin Otis to stay until Devin was able to find a new vicar for their church. So Otis agreed. So while they were discussing Otis's vicarship, Devin was able to slide in the fact that he himself was trying to get married. He has already chosen his bride, Lady Joan. So now, who is Lady Joan? Lady Joan is Viola's sister. Now, this is the sister that is red hair. She is spooky. She's smart. Viola's just shy, but June, on the other hand, she's active. She's like the life of the party, beautiful, a socialite, basically life of the party kind of girl. So Devin has told Otis that his bride to be was a June, and he wanted to tell June that he wanted to marry June to make June his bride. Now, Otis warns that he will have a lot of competition, but Devin wasn't worried. So he wants June and he gets what he wants according to his philosophy. He said that whatever he wants, he gets. As a Duke, he wanted Viola's sister, June, and June is what he was going to get. He was supposed to be going to the ball, but he never went to balls and stuff like that ever since the situation he had with the crazy lady who was trying to get him to marry her by plotting and scheming. So now Devin goes to this ball, which Viola was debuting at, but his game plan was to get June, and he had never planned to fall in love and nothing like that. His only plan was he wanted a duchess that will fulfill the role of a duchess who would, be by his side, not go to balls. And if she wanted to go to balls, she could go to all the crazy balls, but he would not be a part of it. So that was his game plan, not to fall in love, just marry a woman just so he has one and she can fulfill the duties of a wife. But he was not planning on fulfilling the duty as a loving husband. So he just wanted a title for a duchess. So he felt that he needed to marry a duke's daughter. So he figured June would be a better fit for him. Back to Viola. Viola hitched a plan. She needs to get over her shyness, a task that June is helping her with. She needed to show Mr. Malu that she was the perfect wife for him. All right, if you see me looking down, I'm reading off of my computer, guys, so that's why I'm looking down, but I'm here with you. She arranges a meeting in the library on the night of her debut ball. Now, Viola and her family set out that this was the year that Viola and June was gonna debut. Now, June had been waiting for Viola to get over her shyness, and June literally was excited and she couldn't wait to be of age so that she can debut. But she had been waiting for Viola to be ready. So Viola was finally not ready, but pushed into being ready. So this was her year that she was supposed to debut. So June, Viola, and her parents and Mr. Malu, the new vicar, they all traveled to London for Viola to debut. Now, while they were there at the first ball, Viola had arranged a meeting to meet Mr. Malu, the vicar who's already is to be married to a bishop's daughter, Mrs. Pettigrew's crazy lady. She looked down upon everybody that wasn't as righteous as her and her family. That was the family that Mr. Malu was supposed to be marrying into. So like Viola felt so bad. She's like, even if Mr. Malu doesn't find me attractive, there is no way that I'm letting him get married into Miss Pettigrew's family, because she is just going to ruin his life. So Viola arranged this meeting so that she will try to work her way into telling him how she felt. But when she arrives in the library, it is already occupied. So when she arrived in the library, people were already in the library. So she's like, this is not what I planned. But let's keep reading. On her way to the library, she met Devin and his uncle discussing him getting a duchess. So Viola has herself behind the window curtains and she overheard Devin and his uncle talking. So Reginald tells Devin that Viola will be the perfect bride for him. Devin disagrees. Ooh, gets interesting. He says that she isn't really a wild and that she is timid and she is a mouse. Wow. Devin. Quite shady there. But this is because Viola is not the Duke's biological daughter. However, by marriage, Viola is the Duke's stepdaughter. But Devin was not trying to hear any of that. He was trying to marry June, and June it was for him. He did not want to hear anything about anybody else, and definitely not Miss Thrupp. So he said Viola would not make a very good duchess for him, is what he said. She's a little mouse, which I don't really like that. Don't call her a mouse. His uncle tells him he is wrong and that if he wants to get technical, Lady June isn't a wild either. Ooh, this is where the family secret comes out. Now, the Duke took in June and raised her as his own, but she's not his biological daughter. Viola is more so closer to the Duke because her mother is married to the Duke, whereas June's mother is out of the picture. But Devin was not trying to hear that. Lady June isn't a wild either. Devin doesn't care. He wants June, end of story. Exactly. When his uncle leaves, Mr. Malu arrives and Viola comes out of hiding. Devin sends Mr. Malu away and escorts Viola's back to the ball. Now, this is a very interesting scene in the book. So after Devin was done arguing with his uncle, back and forth, he said June was it for him. He did not want Viola. He wouldn't agree with his uncle and said some very shady things about Viola. As she was standing behind the curtains, listening to everything, his uncle finally leaves the room. I said just read. Now, when Devin's uncle leaves the room, in comes Mr. Malu because he was supposed to be meeting Viola in this secret library. So once Mr. Malu gets into the library, Devin looked kind of shocked, like, Mr. Malu, what are you doing here? And Viola had to come out of hiding. So when she comes out of hiding, she tells Devin something about a mouse, letting him know that she heard exactly what he said. So then Devin turns it back on her and Mr. Malu and said, what are you guys doing in here? Why would both of you want to come in here? Because he's clearly here and you're here. And if I wasn't here, it would only be the both of you. So I don't think it's appropriate. So the Devin tells Mr. Malu that I will urge you to walk away and leave the young lady alone because you are supposed to be a vicar. So Mr. Malu, being a very sweet, kind-hearted soul, didn't want any problems. So he literally left Devin and Viola to their own devices and he walked away. Devin then turns his attention back to Miss Smarty Pants, Viola. She makes comment that let Devin know that she had heard that he was talking about her. Devin sends Mr. Malu away and escorts Viola back to the ball. But on the way, she let him have it and she basically told him that you're a piece of shit for talking about me that way. My sister would never marry you. You are a basically and there's no way I'm gonna let you get close to my sister or anyone in my family because you are a terrible person. And while Viola was listening to him and his uncle, Viola overheard him saying that he really didn't want a woman that he was gonna love. He just wanted a woman that would attend parties and stuff like that. He didn't even like to go to parties. So basically he needed someone like June, who is a social butterfly, who would go on to party with other aristocratic families and actually keep his name alive so he doesn't have to go because he hates people. Devin had a very bad upbringing, and his dad was not a loving father. His dad basically like would make his mom cry all the time, make his mom run away from the house, make Devin cry. So he was just abusive emotionally to his kids. So Devin grew up not really knowing what love is or how to give love. So all he cared about was running the family and being a duke, and he did not care whether he loved the woman he was marrying. He just wanted someone to fill the role. So Viola overheard him saying all of that to his uncle, and she was like, hell no, you're not gonna marry my sister because you don't have good intentions, you're a head, and I'm not gonna let you get anywhere closer to her. So while Viola is going on berating Devin, he realizes that she's not the mouse that he called her, and he asked to walk Viola to where they were going to have supper that evening. And Viola refuses at first, but he said, well, they already saw us walking in now, so we're basically walking in together. So him and Viola walks into the dinner area. Okay, we know that Devin is the Duke. Sir Reginald is Devin's uncle. Otis is Devin's cousin. So let's keep going. So while Devin was putting together his plan to get with Viola's sister, there was another girl at the ball that could not wait to meet Devin, and I believe her name was Kathleen. But if it's not, I'll put it on the screen here. And Devin wanted absolutely nothing to do with this crazy chick, but she was chasing after him and looking everywhere for him. So as they're walking into the ball, after Violet told him off and told him what a piece of trash he was now intrigued and focused on Viola and taking Viola out. So he asked Viola, can he take her to the supper? And they bumped into this chick that had been chasing him down, and he wants absolutely nothing to do with her. So Viola goes, oh, Kathleen, guess what? I was just bringing Devin over to you. Hey, here you go. So she handed him to the girl that he wanted absolutely nothing to do with, and Viola walked away. I can't tell you guys every single thing in the book, but I just want to give you guys little points. So if you're interested in reading it, that way you still have something to imagination. But if you're not interested in reading it, I want to give you just enough so that you at least understand what this book is about. If you want to know what I used on my eyes, I use these bad boys. Okay, they're easy for travel, and as a flight attendant, guys, I want to go cuckoo crazy right now. It does look very leave it the hell alone, but I kind of want to go crazy because I don't have anything better to do today. I'm just in the hotel. I'm done with my work day, so why not go crazy? Go big or go home, right? I think go big is always better and dramatic. And Viola realized that he wasn't into the Kathleen girl, because he had made some smart comments about the girl as she was coming through. So he asked Viola to take Viola to the supper, and Viola just ditched him with the girl, and she left both. So because he met both Viola and Mr. Malu together in the library, he realizes that Viola had a crush on the vicar. So Devin realizes his uncle was right. Lady Joan is not right for him, but Viola is perfect. Now he realizes after he said all that shit about her. So he sets out to win Viola from the vicar, who literally was just there for moral support and that Viola liked. He kind of liked Viola, but he didn't know where things could potentially go, so he was just taking things slow. Now, Devin was in competition with himself, basically. He set out to win Viola away from the vicar, and he didn't care how he was going to do it, whether he was going to cheat, he was going to play fair, or just plain on swooped in and take away Viola from the vicar, which she wasn't really with him. She was trying to get with him. He sets out to win her away from the vicar by all means necessary, even if he has to take advice from his cousin Otis, which he didn't really think was the smartest one. So Devin had a strict rule. He was not gonna woo any woman. He was gonna tell her, you're gonna become a duchess. These are the rules, play by the rules. You live large and I live my life. I don't have to love you. I don't have to be in love with you. I just marry you and it's an arrangement, okay? That's it. But after he met Viola that night, he realized that he had to win her over. Even if he has to take advice from his cousin Otis, even if he has to woo her, Ooh, something he planned never to do with any woman. Even if he has to hire Mr. Malu away from the Duke, but winning her is only part of it. Soon he realizes he wants it all. Her body, her heart, and her love. A task made harder when he learns that he is the man that terrified her all those years ago. So Devin had a plan of his own. He was going to get advice from his cousin, and he had planned on hiring the vicar away from the Duke, Viola's dad. He was trying to hire Mr. Malu to be a vicar at his parish because he was a lot wealthier. And he was trying to steal Mr. Malu away from Viola's house, meaning that Mr. Malu was not going to be in close proximity to Viola and make her fall more in love. So he said he had to do whatever it took to get Mr. Malu and Viola separated, and that he was also going to use his cousin that he didn't trust so well to help him with some game because he had zero game. All he did was play with calculations and math and stuff like that. That was his fun time. And Viola, all she did was play with her little birds and her little rescue animals and stuff like that. So that was what she enjoyed. He enjoyed calculations. He had no friends, nothing. All he had was his cousin. All right, so this is really interesting. This was one of my favorite parts. So remember the guy we talked about in the beginning of the story? This couple that was arguing at the time ended up becoming Devin. Devin had a mistress many years ago, and she was trying to trap him into marrying her. And after that, he decided that he would not go to any more balls until recent, when he met Viola. Now he realizes that Viola was the girl because when they were talking, getting to know each other, he realizes Viola was the girl that he had actually traumatized many years ago. And Viola said the man in that room made her never want to ever get married, and she thought that all men were evil because the way the man behaved. So that was a big red flag for Viola, and Devin knew that he was the man in question, but couldn't tell Viola because he was trying to get to know her. All right, guys, I don't want to make this video too long, but at the end of the day, if you guys love this story and you want me to do more of these kind of readings and stories like this, leave a comment down below and let me know that you want more of these kind of stories and that you enjoy. What would you like to see next from me, and would you want us to incorporate this more on the channel? And I'll be happy to do so. Well, let's get back into the book, okay? So I'm just gonna do a quick rundown because I have to go somewhere this evening. I have to go downstairs and hang with my crew, so I'm just gonna do it really quickly. But at the end of the day, after the meeting with Viola, Devin had this wonderful plan that he was going to hire Mr. Malu. He invited Mr. Malu's fiance so that she would be closer in the picture, so that Viola will understand that Mr. Malu had a fiance that he was supposed to be getting married to. Now, Viola still had her eyes set on Mr. Malu, but Devin had been pulling strings here and there to get to know Viola, and at this point he decided that he wanted to show Mr. Malu and the rest of the family the church that he wanted Mr. Malu to take over. So Mr. Malu, the family, and everyone went to, see this church. Mr. Malu's future mother-in-law saw dollar sign, and so did her daughter, and all she wanted was to be closer to her mother, whereas Viola them live in another part of town which was very far away where Mr. Malu was going to be working. Now Viola and her family continue their situation with the ball. They continue having balls and stuff, and Devin was able to woo Viola, and it's a very beautiful story. You guys have to read the book to actually feel what I felt while I was reading the book. It's really nice story. And he ended up inviting Viola to his castle, and Viola went to visit with him. Not just Viola, but the entire family went to see Devin's family castle and whatever. And when they got there, that's when Devin started to tell Viola about his feelings, and through Viola he was able to learn that sharing his feelings with people, and he said nobody cared about him, But then he talked about his cousin Otis, and he finally realized that Otis loved him, and Viola started to teach him what love is, and they had a big magical kiss, which they thought nobody saw. But Viola and I love her character, she's amazing. But Viola Ann saw them, so did the vicar's fiance, Miss Pettigrew, who was supposed to be marrying the vicar. Viola Ann walked over to them and said, hey guys, time to join the rest of the people, time to join the rest of the party. You can't just be out here doing, blah, blah, blah. So then they ended up all gathering together when they went inside of the house to view his castle. It's a beautiful story there. If you want to read the book, guys, go ahead and do so. But I don't want to leave you guys hanging. I'm just giving you a really quick summary. Devin ends up making out with Viola in public. Viola's aunt, she apparently saw Viola make out with the guy, and they all know that Viola is super shy, and she was so happy for Viola, but she knew that it couldn't be scandalous. Like, she wanted her niece to have a fairy tale wedding and not like a forced rush wedding and stuff like that. So she hurriedly dispersed them, and they all went into the church to look around with Mr. Malu. Mr. Malu, on the other hand, was not very happy with this arrangement, because he was like, what the fuck? Like, he kind of liked Viola too, but he wasn't like full on, because he was a man of God. But he was kind of like, I know what you're doing and see what you're doing, and I don't know if I want to live here. But then Devin already had a backup plan, because he brought Mr. Vica's fiance into the picture. So his fiance was there, and she was like all in ooh over the place. She wanted to be in a much richer church, and she knew what that meant for her family, and her dad as a bishop would be so proud of her. And she ends up walking in on Devin and Viola making out. So she was like, oh, because it was like an abomination. It wasn't supposed to happen, because they decided to start courting each other when Viola told him, like, I don't know if I want to court you, and all that stuff. Like, the romance, like the push and pull before they actually make out. You guys have to read that for yourself. Like, I don't want to ruin it for you. But at the end of the day, Devin and Viola gets together, and after they made out in public, somebody saw Devin and Viola. You have to read the book to find out. And went and printed a spread in the gossip news column, and apparently there was the newspaper at Viola's dad. So Viola aunt came over to Devin and Viola and said, "Ooh, there's fire on the mountain." That's what they'll say in the African culture. There's fire on the mountain, meaning there's trouble. So she said, "There's trouble, and your dad wants to meet you, Duke Winter, and Viola. Your dad needs to see you and the Duke." So Viola and the Duke went over to her dad, and her dad saw their connection, whatever, but he was like, my daughter, she's been berated in the newspaper, and people were calling her all types of sluts and, all types of names, all because of you dishonor my daughter. This is not how you're supposed to treat her, blah, blah, blah. And the Duke was like, I will take care of her. I will marry her and want to marry her right now, blah, blah, blah. So at the end of the day, Viola gets married to the Duke, and you guys will just have to read the book to find out. If you want any more juicy details, guys, go ahead and let me know in the comments, and I might pick up the book and let you know and answer your question. Also, if you're interested in reading the book, I have a hard copy of the book. Here's the good part. I can mail it to you. Just let me know that you're interested, and we can arrange how to get you the book. All right, so comment down, tell me your favorite part of the book. What would you have enjoyed? Because I don't want to spoil the book for you guys. I think I've told you a lot about the book already. But let me know, what would you like to see next? Would you like to see more content like this? Would you like me to finish the entire book with you and step by step and give you all of the details? Or would you just want me to do what I just did, which is give you just enough so you can go out and find your next read? If you're interested, let me know down in the comments what was your favorite part of the book. And I have been your humble narrator, Rhonda, and I'll talk to you guys in the next video. I'll see you guys down in the comment. Love you. I have to go now. I have to go. My crew's waiting for me. I have to go. Love you guys.